Now I'm going to demonstrate this little belt buckle. It's made for the North American Arms mini revolver, model number NAA-22LR with the 1 1/8 barrel. You might notice that this barrel has been plugged and the hammer's been welded shut, and also the trigger. North American Arms provided this so I could use in demonstrations at gun shows, for example. So don't worry, it functions just like the one you may have, or one you might like to acquire if you want to obtain a belt buckle like this one. This is very unique in its design. It's the first one, I believe, with the oval shape design. Now, some of you might say, what? Freedom Arms has one like that, North American has one like that, and I will explain how that came about. North American Arms, back in the 1980s, the early 1980s, one of the sales managers for that company came and asked me to make pistol grips, custom-made pistol grips out of silver and turquoise, and I did. They liked it very much. And that sales manager, he returned with some belt buckles and showed me that were being made for the little gun, and he said he didn't like any of them. They weren't very good looking, and they didn't function very well, to his satisfaction. And he challenged me to make him a belt buckle that was nice to wear and functioned very, very good. So I did. This is what I came up with. And the original first belt buckle was designed for the old safety position, because I wanted it to be able to be used as self-defense setup. So the old system had the hammer half cocked over a bullet, lined up with the barrel. And when I showed them that design, they really liked that design. But he told me that a law had just been passed where the bullet couldn't be lined up with the barrel, couldn't be in the chamber. And so I redesigned it, because I did not like that idea of not having 5 bullets for some self-protection. So I redesigned it. And I had the idea. I realized the old safety system was not very safe as far as I was concerned, because I figured that if it was ever dropped and got hit on the hammer and anything broke inside there that was holding the hammer half cocked, and it would go forward, it would fire, and it would be a very unsafe situation. So I redesigned the belt buckle, putting the hammer of the gun all the way down between the bullets. It gave it this, made the position of this hole here, in which I latch into, a lot better position for that. Right there, goes in. Very secure, very stable. The old system, first belt buckle, it was not as stable, because it would tip and rock a little bit, because it was not very solid in there, because of where it was located. Being in the new position, put it here, and it is very solid. And not only that, all 5 bullets could be put in there, because there was no bullet lined up in the chamber with the barrel. So you can have all 5 of them for self-protection, and you also have the safety feature that if it ever got dropped, it would not break and fire. It's impossible to pull the trigger, because the hammer's all the way forward. And so he liked that. That sales manager was offered a job at Freedom Arms, which he took. And he came to me and asked me to make some belt buckles for his new bosses. So I did. They loved the design, they liked the idea, and they invited me to come up and negotiate. They wanted me to come work for them to make my belt buckles for the company. I made a very reasonable proposal, which they rejected, and they came back with a ridiculous proposal. And that was to make my belt buckles for them. They wanted to pay me minimum wage to make my belt buckles for the company. And I told them, no, thank you. And because they were over a legal fight over the patent rights of this, the mechanism of this little gun, they were in a fight with North American Arms. And I believe they lost that fight, and they had to stop making their little guns. And so they discontinued doing that. So I suppose North American Arms liked the idea of, North American Arms traded ownership, I think a couple of times since then, at least. And they didn't know, when I came back years later, and I'll explain that later about this, they didn't know where that notch came from, the idea for that notch. They liked I guess they liked the idea of the Freedom Arms belt buckle, which he took from my design. Everything's very much similar. The holes here, the holes, the framing, and the oval shape, all except the push button that they use right here in this place. And the Freedom Arms company, they modified this screw here so that it was like bullet shape and went through a hole right in this position here. So when you went through it like that, when you pushed a button here, it separated a pair of wires that latched that little screw, modified screw there, and held it in place. That was the Freedom Arms modification of my design. And when they quit making their guns, I guess North American took over their belt buckle idea and used the same push button idea, but instead of modifying the screw here, they modified the pistol grip. And they put two slots here where the wire was rotated just a few degrees this way and latched onto the pistol grip instead. Was not very well made, not a good design. And I'll tell you why. Because if they were ever in a crowd and you were wearing one of the belt buckles, either the North American or the Freedom Arms version, if a pickpocket or somebody with good fingers in a crowd came and pushed that button, that would drop out right into their hands and they're off and you wouldn't even know it. And the other point is that if you were ever wearing this, say at a restaurant and you bumped against a table, it would fall out. Or if you're out hunting in the outdoors and you bumped into a branch or something, and it got hit the button, the gun will fall out and you probably wouldn't even notice and you'd lose it. And not very good safety feature to hold that gun into place. My design was specifically to avoid that situation where anybody it's very difficult to reach from the front or and try to find out where to unlatch it or how it even unlatches. You can't see it. It's designed specifically for the wearer to be able to have access to it most readily by pressing that and sliding it forward, and it comes right out, just like that. And you put it right back in, you push this side and it locks in place and can't fall out. Very secure, very good, fast, quick, easy. And I never revealed the speed loader to them. because of that, taking my ideas and using it and not giving me credit for it. So I designed this speed loader. Put the design away very many years ago. I made very, very few of these belt buckles. There's not very many around. And because of unfortunate circumstances, I decided to put these away. And I brought them out a couple of years ago, brought the design out and started working on it. And made this a very good, easier to be made, still difficult, but easier to be made, and better designed, functioning-wise, speed loader. To be a companion to the belt buckle. At this point, I'm not offering the speed loaders by themselves. They're together. They're a team here. And I'll show you how that works now. Spent shells, if they get stuck, you use this center pin as an extractor. Just push them out. You also can, if you put it in the center hole like that, so it rotates like this, you can take the speed loader, unlatch it, arrange the bullets in a circle, insert it into the cylinder like that, and just pull. And there it is, they're loaded. And you're ready to go again. Put your cylinder back into your pistol. Put the pistol back into the belt buckle. Reload your speed loader with fresh ammunition. Just clip in there. Not difficult at all. Then you don't have to be heavy-handed with it. Put the pin on the last clip through a hole in the latch. Make sure that latch is fully outward in open position, so the pin can go through the hole, and then slide that latch backwards, and it locks in place here. And they're held together really nicely. Put that back in here. Locks in, and you're ready to go again. Now, one feature about the speed loader is, sure, you can load fast, but my concern was when loading one by one, you can drop your bullets. If you're outdoors, it goes into the woods, into the leaves, and you can lose your bullets. But this way, they're all grouped together, and you can handle them all at once, all together, and it's very convenient that way. And if you can do it fast, and that's more power to you. You can call it a speed loader. Yeah. And so that's my design. I hope you found that interesting and informative. And if you ever want to acquire a piece of jewelry, well-crafted item, just email me. Let me know. My email address is Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, N as in Nancy, F as in Frank, C as in Charlie, Bobby NFC @yahoo.com. So there you have it.